You went to the cinema? Did you go to the
Hmm.
IMAX?
No, God, no, no,
No.
no, no.
Okay.
That's a lot of money to go and do that. I have to go into
Oh
central
yeah.
London, go to the British Film Institute, and go. That's
Yeah.
saved
Wow. How about
for
that?
I don't know the IMAX experience, Rod. I save for big cinematic events like it
Like
perhaps a
like this. This is it, Barry.
no, perhaps a
I
Star
went to
War.
IMAX by the way.
I know you did. I don't know if you go to the cinema not at IMAX anymore because I feel like the last few films we've spoken about, you're like, oh yeah, I'm seeing it at IMAX.
I saw Warfare,
Mm.
which I hated, and then I saw this, which yeah, I don't know. It's not a spoiler alert. My opinion is not a spoiler alert. Didn't like this
Mm.
movie. Real
Oh,
bad.
wow, real
It's
bad.
really bad.
I am not. I'm partly surprised. I had wondered if you might share some of the emotional reactions that I shared. I thought that seeing some of the things that I love about Formula One in cinescope, in a cinematic way, when not a spoiler, but like seeing Eau Rouge like that with everybody jogging up it, and I was like, yeah, man, that's it. I want your opinion on this as well, because you and I have spoken at length on this show over many years about the kind of what Formula One is and what it represents and why it's special. And I think if you look at this film and you look at the places that it focused on and the races they chose to elevate and the vibe that it tried to produce is actually not at all how Formula One is moving. Like the races they pick, that I don't think these are spoilers either, but correct me if I'm wrong. But we've got the calendar, right? But we're talking about Japan and Monza and the Hungaroring, and yeah, there's Vegas on the list as well, and Abu Dhabi. But I actually think the Yas Marina is becoming synonymous with Formula One. I actually think it's
Yeah,
it's been around for
that's
a
fine.
long time, and I think it is a season ender that people know. And so all of these races are like Harkin and Spa. This is Formula One heritage. And I don't think that's just a nod to get Formula One fans on board. That is like, this is what this sport is. This is why it's famous. And this is its history. And this is what makes it special. And it's not racing around a car park in Miami. It's not six more Petro State races. It's none of that. It is this like inbuilt, like somewhat Eurocentric, like brought to the world writ large in its heritage. And those things made me a little bit emotional. I liked seeing them on the screen. I liked sharing that with other people in the room and kind of being like, yeah, we all like this thing, right? It's all special, and it means something. And when my wife and I walked out, she was like, I think I get a little bit more about why you like this sport now. That was somewhat unprompted. And she's like, and I also, for the first time, fully understand what you mean by it's a team sport. And I think that's something that this will do a little more than I think that sometimes Drive to Survive will do. And I liked that the film sometimes made it like was kind of looking out the corner of its eye, Drive to Survive a little bit. Um, so yeah, I thought it put a sport in sharp relief in front of more people in a way that I found um, energizing and emotional. I really liked that aspect of it.
Yeah, interesting.
Tell me why you hated it.
It's so bad. God, it's a bad movie.
It's a bad movie.
Terrible. I'm gonna also just throw in words like good or bad, and I want to also acknowledge that I understand this is completely subjective and a matter of taste, and you can't really argue taste. Some people will. I'll say that some things are bad. Some people will be like, but that's what I liked about the movie.
If this is your
But
first episode of Super License, this might strike you as odd. But if
yeah,
you've been listening ever,
you ever
uh,
heard me talk about anything?
this is how it goes.
This is what I am. This is me, unfiltered. This is a bad movie. It's the story's bad. The
Hmm.
storytelling is bad.
Hmm.
Predictable, cliche,
Mm. Mm.
and the story. We'll get into maybe in the spoilers the full story, but like the like people are coming out of this movie, and the people who like it seem to say it's not a documentary. You can't get too hung up on the little mistakes. And I was like, right, that's true. But there's
Mm.
absolutely big mistakes and little mistakes, and the storytelling is not to my liking. And I'm not proud that this is the way the sport is being taken to the world on the silver screen. Not proud that that's the ad for my sport.
Interesting. I am not going to disagree with you the that it's cliched, but I also don't think that you can expect an action film like this these days to be anything but that. Like there aren't any that subvert the category. There aren't really any action films that do anything. We are on repeat. We've been on repeat with every Jurassic Park film for years and years and years and years, and they're all
Yeah. Guess the
successful.
last
We're
time
on
I saw a
repeat
Jurassic
with,
Park film,
yeah, I don't know, the second
maybe
one.
30 years,
Yeah,
because I don't
exactly.
watch
Yeah,
formulaic movies
exactly.
that are
Yeah,
boring.
yeah. Well, I know, but I don't think Paul Thomas Anderson was going to be making the Formula One film. Jerry Bruckheimer is
Missed
making the Formula
opportunity.
One film. Yeah, I know, right? We wouldn't
But
have seen any racing.
but I haven't. So here's the thing: have you seen Top Gun, the Maverick?
No, because I had
Because I
no
haven't,
interest
but
in
everyone
seeing that.
says it's great, and it's
Yeah,
fan service, and we just loved it. And I was like, right,
yeah,
that was what I was hoping, that this would be
yeah.
fan service, and that I would come out going cheesy, dumb, fun, and I loved it. Instead,
Mm.
I came out of it, that's just dumb, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think it's probably because it's too close to you. Like, do you think that pilots walk out of Top Gun going like, "That's exactly what it's like, baby.
Don't
Yeah,
know.
finally, my
I'm not.
my
I'm
my
not
fighter
a
pilot
pilot.
life has been writ large on the big screen." No, I think this is perfectly squarely for people who are like, I have a vague interest in Formula One. I like Bradley Pitts. I think this will
Bradley
be a
Pitt.
fun romp,
We're
and
getting
it
into we're
is.
getting into something interesting here now, because who is the movie for? Is it
It's
for F1
for,
fans?
yes,
Doesn't seem to be.
but that's like, but
They got so many things wrong. How could it be for F1 fans?
I don't think they got. I think that any Formula One fan will understand why some things need to be a MacGuffin, why some things need to be a plot device, and and I think there is a lot in the film that people find difficult to maybe explain to non-Formula One fans why they like the thing, or there are intricacies in there that you're like, okay, well, yeah, that is actually how the sport is won and lost. I actually think that that's how that thing has to go. And you have to still suspend your disbelief a little bit. You don't go to Pirates of the Caribbean expecting to be like, well, you can't trim the sails like that. That's not how a sailboat works. Boats don't go
Yeah, but
underwater.
Zach, there's no real Pirates of the Caribbean, but there is real F1. So you
And that's
can't
the
make that
problem, right? They did
comparison,
call the
right?
film F1. They didn't call it race car.
That's what I'm talking about. This is a
Yeah.
film called F1. It has the full backing and blessing of the sport. It's produced by the driver who has had the most success of the sport
Mm.
in the entire existence of the sport.
Yep.
It's there are little things that they got wrong. There's little things they got wrong, but
Give me a non-spoilery
huge things.
example.
When there's a virtual safety car, the
Hmm.
marshals do not go on the track and sweep it.
No, they don't.
That's an example of a small thing that if you're an F1 person, you're like, what? No,
Yeah.
that's not how
Yeah.
you do
Plot
that.
MacGuffin. Yeah, it just has
No,
to be there. Yeah.
there's way bigger things, but I can't get into it until we get into spoilers.
But
But like,
I think that is a really good example of plot MacGuffin. And I think that it doesn't matter. And I don't think that um, anybody who watches Formula One would go, well, so that's immediately massive plot hole. It's like, I know, but
well,
the idea of how this film has to be made is that the sport doesn't function like this. If it did, if the sport was genuinely this exciting, you could make a documentary about it, but it isn't. And it's not how this
but
works. And the
here's one
whole
of the
premise of the film doesn't work. So at that point, when you walk in and sit down, and the premise is fucking Sonny Hayes, who has no racing pedigree, doesn't have a super license, can walk into a Formula One team with no training, no skills, hasn't driven a Formula One car in 30 years.
yeah,
Rod, the film doesn't make sense. Of course
turns
it
out he's
doesn't.
better at everyone's job than they
So
are.
if you
Crazy.
stop there, if you cannot get on board with the core premise established in the first 10 minutes, then of course the film is not for you. Of course it isn't.
Then who's
Just
the
like
film
in
for?
Willy Wonka, if
That's
you
what I'm
can't get
saying.
into the idea that there is a chocolate factory that is magical, then you can't.
Zach, the
But
film's
like all
called
action films,
F1. The film's
I
called
know it is.
F1.
I know it is.
Not underdog wins and we all feel good. The film's called F1.
But I think it was exactly what actually, it was more than what I expected it to be. Because I was so low going in. If you hadn't said, hey, let's talk about this on the show, I'm not sure I would have gone to the cinema to see it. That is how low my expectation was of this film. I was not excited about it until that opening sequence at the 24-hour Daytona. And I was like, oh, hey, racing. That's interesting and good.
Well, okay. So I mean, I said I was talking about alternate titles that would be better.
Yes.
Here's a better title than F1. Here's a better title. You ready? Brad Pitt. The movie. Brad Pitt
Yeah.
knows everything, gets everything right, and suffers basically no consequences, and everything
Yeah.
goes right for him. The movie.
Uh-huh. Yep. Action film. Yep.
Pretty interesting movie, right? Wouldn't we
Yeah,
like to see
Mission
a movie
Impossible,
about a guy who is great
James
at everything and
Bond.
nothing goes wrong for him, gets
Yeah,
everything that he wants? What a
yeah. I mean,
great
it's,
movie.
it's why the James Bond films are essentially just called James Bond because that's what happens in James Bond films. No retribution,
And they're
nothing. No
based
one
on
gets
that
the
real
girl
guy,
every
James
single
Bond.
time. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The problem, but Brad Pitt does interviews, right? And they're like, "Tell me about working with Lewis Hamilton." And they're like, "He's like Lewis Hamilton's amazing. He was helping us to edit the movie, making sure we got everything right."
Yep.
And he'd be like, "Oh, when you drive through that corner, you go through in fifth gear, not fourth gear." And he's like, "That's the level of detail that he brought." I'm like, "Bro, don't even talk to me about the level of detail in this movie. Don't even start because this movie, like you even just said, this movie is not. It's not meant to be accurate. It's meant to
Yeah,
be
but
stupid escapism." But it's not stupid escapism, the movie. It's F1,
enough.
the movie.
Yeah, because that's the only
Not
thing that
even
like
enough. It's not that at all.
I 100% see what you're saying,
We'll get into
but I
more in
think that
spoilers. The other thing, like, if you want to finish that thought, that's fine. But I
no,
wanted
no,
to get
no, go
into
for
the
it.
representation of women in the
Oh,
movie.
doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Is that what you're about to tell me?
Everyone's talking about this as well, but I've got good opinions about it, I think. So, yeah.
Okay, well then
Um,
tell me you could. I love it. I've got good opinions. Let me tell them about you.
well, I
To
mean,
them
I,
to you.
I think
I
they're well
do. You
formed.
definitely do. Of course they are. You're a great film critic. Genuinely. I was excited to have
Thanks.
this conversation with you because I knew you would be
Do
able to
people
tell
like
me
realize that I know like I'm like academically qualified to talk about film more than F1. I'm more qualified to talk about movies than F1.
exactly. Whereas I'm actually
Um,
academically qualified to talk about
what
Brad Pitt. Specifically, I
what
did my
did you
no.
think about the depiction of women in motorsport?
I think that like everything in this film, it had to be a caricature of it. Like that was the thing that it is the bad espresso version of all of this. I think a clumsy engineer arc
This is one of them.
is tricky because it could have been anyone, and I really don't like it when when we purposefully shove a lot of like diversity into one thing to what feels like tick a box, but it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that'll be a more relatable character, and
So
we have to have two women in this film. We can't have one.
no, there's a few in there, and some of them are okay. But I mean, it's interesting who are the good ones and who are the not so good ones, but also the subtleties of it. But I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler because it happens very early. But there's a female engineer, like working
Hmm.
the wheel gun, and she makes a mistake, leaves the gun on the ground. The car drives over it, and it's a problem. And they
Yeah,
put her on blast. And Brad Pitt stands up for her and says, "Look, don't beat yourself up about it. Your fault. Everything's everything's going to be fine." And then later, when they're alone, she says to him, "Don't say those things because it
yeah.
makes it look like I need you to stand up for me." And I was
Hmm.
like, "This is it. They've done it. We're actually going to have great representations of women in the movie." And it was all downhill from there, more or less, because it
Yeah.
just gets worse and worse. And unfortunately, the success of all of the female characters in the film is pretty much directly tied to them doing what Brad Pitt tells them they should do.
Yeah, the only other interpretation of that would be like he's a do what you do best character. He's like, if you're truer to you, then you will be more successful because I'm truest to me. And if only we operate like a team or you can be the best that you can be, then that will work really well for
Hmm.
this. But I think that that's partly the the attempted kind of poking fun at the sport realism because even like the team principal, what's his face? What's he called? Well, even the fact that like Ruben as
I don't know.
the swashbuckling
This is
owner.
Javier Bardem, suave
Yes,
billionaire.
exactly. Like even that is the like
Hello and
that's
spell
poking
type.
fun at the sport. Yeah.
Well, I
Or
mean, the
even
most realistic
Flavio
thing, like
Briatore, you know,
you talk
like
about the realism of it. The most realistic thing was when we get our first shots of of some on track action, and there's finally standing alongside the track a shot of an old white man, and I was like, well, finally some realism in this movie.
well, the other realism I think is like that, like Casper, the team principal. And I was racking my brain what I knew him from. We walk out, and Hammer goes, "That's the other cop from the bridge," and I was like, "Oh, that's not Sarah Lund or whatever the Saga. No, Sega. Sega is the other
No,
woman,
the other
is
one,
the other cop, but he's the kind of bumbly, do things
the
in
fun
your
one.
own gray area way cop. But I thought he was the perfect like odd team principal is like a long time ago I was really good, but now, I think that was fun and interesting. But that storyline didn't necessarily go where I expected it to go either. I think there was a
No,
more cliched storyline in there that the movie could have done and that it didn't.
yeah,
Um,
And then
But
the
yeah,
one strong-ish sort of female character, the only one who stands up to Brad Pitt and is correct, is the mother of the rookie. She's
yep.
great and a great actress, and the role was well written. Like, I don't know whether you thought the film was funny. Genuinely, the only laugh that was in my cinema was when she first sees that picture of Brad Pitt, and she's like, "Ooh, look at this guy." But she's the only one who stands up to him and is correct and has a moment of strength and authentic character, an authentic character moment. And
Mm,
unfortunately, it comes from the mother of the driver, not who is a very motherly mother, like cooks meals for her son, has his like protects him, stands up for him. Like it reinforces the worst kind of female stereotype that it possibly could.
yeah, but is also in the audience, you know that her reaction is built on not having all the information.
Yes, exactly. Sure, sure.
So
And
it's
she
it's
like
totally
no one can
undermined.
reason with her because she's
It's
flying.
yeah, it's totally undermined in the moment. And I was like,
That's
oh,
true.
I'm thinking like, yeah, this reaction is all fine, but you also don't have all the information, and it's only there so that another character can have a different arc later in the
Yeah,
film
yeah,
to
sure.
have their own journey of self-development.
Mhm.
And none of them talk to each other because they're not allowed, because it's a film about Bradley Pitt. So what would they talk about?
Yeah.
Him? Because there's nothing else in the film. And that's what I find really, how this film is made influences what it is so much. And I think that's why we might have slightly different opinions of it, which is that it isn't a documentary, but it's trying to be, because it did something really difficult, which is it's using all of Formula One over the last few years as the story, as the backdrop, and using Formula One things like, oh, that's McLaren's headquarters. Why are they in there? Would you take offense at that too? Where you're like, oh, no, they picked the most interesting Formula One building because it's Formula
Why would I
One.
take offense to the choice of a building? That's what.
Because that's
Who
not
cares?
really, because that's not real. It's the same as the safety car, virtual safety car people. It's like, that's the McLaren headquarters. Why would
Well,
Apex be in the McLaren headquarters? That's
but one is based
stupid.
on something authentic, and the other one's just factually inaccurate.
But that is factually inaccurate. Like, that is where is the McLaren team if they're not at their headquarters, if Apex are in their
Well,
headquarters?
it looks exactly like an F1 headquarters does because it is one. So I had no problem with that.
Yeah, I see. I will put that in the virtual safety car sweepers
Oh,
category
okay, right.
because it
Okay,
is
right.
the exact same inaccuracy level.
What
Like,
about
it is
okay? So there was this story of the screening, a preview screening that they had with the drivers, and they're like,
Mm,
there's a scene with a car and it hits a certain thing and does a thing, and all of the drivers cracked up laughing because of how cartoonish and inaccurate it was. And then when
yeah,
it happened in the movie, I was like, yeah, this
yeah.
is definitely the scene. This is definitely the scene. Cars don't do that when they hit a tiny
I
little
want to
bump.
I want to save that for spoilers because
All right, get
I've
into
got
that
I had
more
a
then.
reaction to that I think is interesting. Yeah, no, the point I
Um,
was going to make is that I just love that no Formula One driver spoke in the whole film, um, which is
didn't
great.
Fernando Alonso come over and say congratulations, Sonny? Or he
That
said
might be
something.
the
It was
only.
kind of inaudible, but yeah,
Oh no, I think yeah, it's not a speaking part. I don't think it
yeah.
would be in the script.
Probably a
And the
deliberate
only
non-speaking thing because then you got to pay them union.
you got to
I
pay
mean, I know
them.
these F1 drivers. It's
Mm.
ridiculous.
But there is
Um,
it's this odd feeling that this is somehow happening in the world in a vacuum, that no one else is engaged in any way, shape, or form. Like, you
yeah.
can't, like,
Oh,
hey, can
that's
you?
another thing that I wanted to bring up. This is not a spoiler either, but all of the races
Mhm,
completely focused around Apex Racing as
mhm,
if nothing else happened to any other car.
mm,
They all just started in the exact same position that they finished. And
mhm,
the only interesting stuff was around
mm.
their team. I truly felt that it could have been greatly improved by having other things happen besides just what happened to that team. And I know people will say, but this is a story about Apex Racing. You don't want to be
Mm,
too distracting. But they could
mhm.
easily have peppered in a few things to
About
make
what? To what
the
end?
races feel real.
But why? Like, to make the
To
races
make the
feel real.
races feel real, Zach. I just said
But
it.
what? But yeah. But what information would you give to make the races feel real? Talk about who won.
Literally anything. Someone gets a puncture. It's like, just
Sorry, the film
anything.
is so
Someone,
full of punctures already. There was no more room.
well, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
other things could have happened that influence, but then they wouldn't have been. That's not the story of the film. There's the story of the film is how Apex, like how you can make your own luck, forge your own destiny, and be a hero and a team player at the same time. Like, it's Disney. Like, I don't know what it's Apple. Like, this is the problem that every Apple TV show has. That, like, this is if anything they should have gone more Ted Lasso on this than they did.
I can
because that
only
would have
respond to
been.
the movie as they made it, man. I can't.
I know, I know you can. I know, and this is why you don't like Ted Lasso either. Like, and football fans watch Ted Lasso and go, "That's not how football works." But it's incredibly famous and it's
No,
incredibly well loved. And I think that
I saw.
there is a reason why this film has 79 on Rotten Tomatoes because people are walking out of it going, "That's pretty fun. That was
Yeah,
a self-contained storyline that made sense in its universe. Great."
it's making a bit of money, and it's hitting some success, which I'm glad about. And I've seen posts. This is what I was. Maybe we should start like wrapping up this section a little bit. But
Yeah.
I saw posts online from people saying I didn't know anything about it, and I just went to see it, and I loved it. And then I watched Drive to Survive, and now I'm going to watch races. I'm a fan now, and I was like, perfect.
That's the
That's
game.
great. I wish we could have had that, but also had a better movie. But I'm thrilled that
Yeah.
people are seeing it and reacting to it and coming away with something positive and just being it's sparking some curiosity or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, it's a good thing. That's what it's obviously I went into the movie not thinking that's what it was, but it's become very clear that that is exactly what it was. It's like Drive to Survive. It's not for F1 people. Ironically, it's
I
not at
don't
all
think
for them.
I think the idea that F1 people is a thing is now dead. I don't think you can I don't know what the term F1 people means anymore. Because I feel that in Formula One fandom already. And people think I'm F1 people. And I don't know if what you think of F1 people or what you and I might think of as F1 people who do know who was on pole at Spa 2 years ago when
No
I
idea.
could not tell you a crash or an incident
But
from last season. Like I'm not F1 people then. And so the people who make up that
wouldn't say
F1
that.
people audience, no, I know. No, look, I'm just trying to come around to the point here, which is my whole life, right? Trying to come around to the point on this show. That audience is so small that it's insignificant. They were never going to make enough money off a film that was for F1 people. Just like Moneyball is not for baseball people.
Yeah, and again, this movie obviously was intended to be an ad for the sport, so it's intended to be for not F1 people.
Yeah, that was overwhelming my feeling. I said that to Amber coming up the stairs out of the cinema. I said that is a long 2.5 hour ad for a sport, which is why it's called F1. They didn't even call it Formula One. They called it F1, and they used the logo. That does not happen. As I said, I cannot imagine a film being called NBA with the NBA logo produced by, Steph Curry. No, they make Space Jam. That's what happens if you want to do a basketball film.
Right. Well,
so
yeah.
I'm so glad that this show's opinion is that it's a 2 out of 5.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you're raising the average. I feel like
Yeah. Oh, you will give it a 1.
What are you saying? It's 3 out of 5?
I think I said it's about 2.5 out of 5. My letterbox will be 2.5.
I don't understand your ratings at all. You said you like this movie.
Yeah.
Why aren't you giving it a good rating?
That is a good
2 out of
rating.
5 is 2 out of
2.5.
Is barely worth watching.
2.5. It's a pass. It's good. Yeah, but I went and saw it and it was fine. I would never watch it again. Would I suggest people go and see it? Do you like action films? And do you like Brad Pitt? If you like those two things, go and see the film. If you are not the kind of person who would go and see Top Gun Maverick or a Marvel film, don't go and see this. What are you expecting it to be? It's definitely not Moneyball. So if you're like, I like sports films, I like Moneyball, I kind of like The Last Dance on Netflix, as a series, as a documentary series, name another sport movie.
The more normcore your movie tastes are, the more you're going to like this movie. It's as simple as that.
Every movie review needs a dissenter. Otherwise, everything would be a 5 out of 5 all the time, right?
It's true. Not everything can be good.
Even toothpaste needs 1 out of 10 dentists who don't agree. It adds authenticity to the reviews.
We got Brad Pitt in this movie.